Hi and welcome back to another video in the TNL Tips video series. As you know, the series focuses on brief tips that can help you out in most aspects of your work here, teaching at the college, particularly doing some things via Canvas. So today we'll be talking about using HTML write-up in the Canvas HTML editor. So when you go to any content page inside of Canvas, you have the rich content editor. I'll show you in this video how you can click on the HTML editor and add some cool and innovative features to your class page. In particular, we'll talk about adding some icons as well adding some easy buttons that can be different colors that might spice up your page just a bit. So let's jump onto Canvas and see how this works. Okay, welcome back. As I'm typing the word HTML, we're indeed talking about HTML. If you're wondering what HTML is, I found this great guide, and basically it is a coding system. It's the standard markup language that we use for creating web pages. It actually does stand for Hypertext Markup Language. It's the standard for web pages. It's the structure of a web page. It's a series of elements that are predictable. It tells a browser how to display content, and it labels pieces of content in various ways that are predictable and repeatable. And this shows you what an HTML document looks like. And really you can think of it as a black box. So when you see an image on a page or a series of texts or links, behind it is all this structure here that goes into creating what you see on that actual page. And this discusses various elements. And as you start to play around with HTML, you're going to recognize that certain elements have names. Tag name, H1, P for paragraph. And anytime the system sees this particular element, it knows what to do. It knows that this is a paragraph and thus creates a paragraph distinction. It's kind of good to know what HTML is before you go into this. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty and fear about HTML, like it's really hard to work with. And let me just say, when I first started teaching back in 2004 online, I was doing everything by HTML. I was writing stuff. I was getting scripts. I was spending hours and hours trying to do this. So it's really great that you don't have to do this. And everything I'm talking about today with my samples here inside of Canvas, you don't have to do. If you don't want to do HTML, you never have to do HTML. Great thing about Canvas is it's really at the rich content editor level, what we call a what you see, what you get kind of approach. You can type things in, you do have to click on some things, add some things for menus, but you don't have to worry about all that coding that we saw that allows you to really get down and dirty at the granular level in terms of affecting what's shown on the page. However, some of you may want to look at it, and in fact today I'll be sharing two resources for you that are really wonderful to get started on HTML. Actually 3 resources, which will be adding a link to a button. This is the official Canvas style guide that has all the HTML components that you can think about using in Canvas. And the one that might be really good for you today are the button styles. So in other words, if we start going into Canvas, because of their architecture and what's set up, and we type things like the term button, secondary, success, warning, danger, link, we can have certain things display. A blue button versus a black button, a link, an orange button, a red button, a green button. And as you go down this page again that I'm sharing with you in the links here on YouTube, you can discover other things you can do. You can do radio buttons and forms. You can do checkboxes, checkbox groups. You can create grids. This is a popular one. I know Treva, in sharing the material on, there's a really good template, a set of templates she shared from another college. You might really like to have these grids that allow you to have distinctions to kind of set up section headers. Icons are also nice. And I'll show you today the official icon list of InStructure, which is the Canvas company. So if you want to insert a little emoji of a question or a publish mark or a protractor, you can just type in that term in the correct HTML header, and then that will create that icon for you. It's really cool. I mean, it's an easy thing you can do just using this very basic thing right here. So what I would do is just copy this here, and this is going to give me 2 instances, a line version and a solid version. So to see the difference, you're noting predictability here. The difference in these 2 strings of code would be the word solid and line. And that's one of the great keys working with HTML, is really understanding that it's not as hard as it looks, because all you have to do is go and you'll want to click on this HTML editor to go from the what you see, what you get editor to the HTML. I'm going to paste in that code now. Okay, and let's look at this when we save it. And very easily we've created two versions of trash icons, right? That was super easy. I didn't do anything. I just took code from Canvas, copied that. That's the code string. And then I just go back. I click on HTML editor, which we know is right here. And then I added that code. So all that code creates those icons. And again, predictability within here, all I have to do to change one of these to the other form is see that the difference in strings, text strings, is the word solid and the word line. So I'll select that or type right here, select just that section of the code, paste it, and check this out. Both of them now are filled versions. Okay, so that's super easy to do. So again, this myth that HTML is hard and you can't do it is false. It's as easy as cutting and pasting something into that HTML write-up section on your rich content editor. Now, if you want to write your own versions of things, if you want to create your own customization, that can be get a little trickier. And you see, as the level of complexity goes up, in this case a table, we have more code that we have to select and enter. So we select all this code. Again, I'm going to just copy my keyboard and paste. I'm going to go back into my HTML editor. By the way, if you do this, you can often delete the code, so then when I go to my HTML editor, it's blank again. Or, let's see if the undo works here. It did. I can conversely click on the HTML editor. I won't damage my computer or Canvas. Select that text, then hit the delete key. Now I put in my new code, and I hit save, and a table will appear. Okay, very easy. And now you're saying, well, I don't want Paul Howard in there. I don't want the email address. Very easy to change. Go in and be a code sleuth, if you will. And in some cases, you can change within the element that appears on the what you see, what you get editor here in the rich text, in the rich content editor. However, it doesn't always work. There are cases in embedding links, video links, where you think, I'll just change the text here. It actually can screw up the whole code. So it's not always the case. You can mess around though. So all you have to do would be to go in this case, if you want to change to your email address, select only. It's really nice. They color code the type of text for you. So if you just want to change the email, find the black text instances of Paul Howard at gmail.com, change all those to the correct email address, and then hit save. And then all of a sudden, in this case, right, it doesn't have the right address, but I typed in the F's and that's what came up. So super easy to go in and customize. You're not going to hurt anything. Just go in and customize. It's very intuitive when you click on the HTML write-up, and you can see things that are either in full language or they're bits of code that over time, working with this through your knowledge of HTML, you're going to learn are very predictable things that do certain things within the HTML write-up. So it's actually really easy to work with this. So to look at other examples, and again, you can take these and run with them, use typography if you want, you can do headings. Now, they do have examples of lists. So if I wanted to, I could copy the code for a list. I go back here, I'm going to just select and delete all because there's one line of code or one bit of code for one specific thing, which is create a table. And now I'm going to hit paste here, and I can hit save, and all of a sudden I'll have a list. And again, I can go in this particular case, again, it's case by case, I can go in and change this, and I'm not going to screw up what's happening at that black box level behind the scenes with my code. Again, this doesn't always work. I've seen situations where I've created a button, and I can show you this in a second, and it actually screws up the whole thing. So it doesn't always work. In this case, it's pretty simple. It's not involving any links. It's just a simple text item that it's creating bullets for. Now, my suggestion for you is in this case not to even deal with this. So delete this, because guess what? You have this built in. You don't have to do the HTML. You already can create lists right here. So what I would recommend is use this list feature and type all the text that you want, and you're good to go. I didn't have to do anything. And in fact, at the back end, again, behind the scenes, the black box not showing us, we see that there are HTML conventions going on here in terms of codes that we don't see just because we're not looking behind the scenes. Kind of like the Matrix, right? And Neo, and what's kind of behind the reality that we see or we don't see. So 100%, if there's something inside of the Canvas Rich Content Editor that allows you to do one of these features, why in the world would you make your life more difficult and use these? Don't use any of these codes for HTML that you already have access to. So we'll just take our code that we used before, go to our HTML editor, and copy that. And again, this time, I want to choose something different. And actually, this could be kind of cool. Check out the icon for quiz. If I go to Canvas Commons, I can actually discover that the default icon is that, the little rocket ship for a quiz. So this is one great way of creating standardization in your class. So I would go to the list of icons, copy and paste this quiz, or type the word quiz, and then I would just want to go inside here and find the one bit of text that is determining what that item is. So I know that's the word trash, because these are always, in the case of these icons, going to be words like printer and protractor and publish. They try to keep it simple. So type the word quiz here or paste it, hit save, and check out what happens. It's changed it to that icon. So that's kind of cool because it allows you customization and you can go in your class. And again, in cases like this, you'll see it as the actual version in the Rich Content Editor, what you see, what you get versus HTML. And I really encourage you to go in and just find these little bits that are making the difference between one icon appearing or another. Again, just this word quiz that is changed allows you to choose all those icons from the Instructure Canvas style sheet. So there's something I want to mention, actually, I should have said at the beginning, is if you go to the top of this, you'll see that a lot of these style components were created prior to 2015, and they're not actively maintaining these any longer. And I think that just has to do with coding, and a lot of the conventions have changed over time. So you may discover actually that some of these on the list will not work. I haven't tried them all. Again, I know the icons do work. If you discover something that doesn't work, you either have to find another way around that or find some additional code. As an example, I found a recent version of code, and I'm going to share this with you actually on one of the links. I'll have to figure out how to do this, but this is a bit of code I found that actually will allow you to create a button. So let's just try that out here. Go to our editor and hit paste. This is a very long bit of code, but again, there's a lot of predictability in here. Hit save, and you should see a series of buttons. Okay. Now, the cool thing about this is, and again, I know this code works, so I'll share it with you. You can customize this. So one of the things you can go and do is for course syllabus in here. And actually on this one, I don't recommend changing links using this option. I recommend doing this only at the HTML level with these buttons. But if I want to right here, I can change the word from course syllabus to course media. And check this out. It will change it. That string of text, which is in black, very easy to remember the coding there. It's now called course media. I can then go in. We're not going to do this all today, but I can actually go in and edit links. So you see this in blue is a link. I could change that to a different link. It could be inside my class, or it could be external. And you can cut and paste the links from your browser, whether you're doing external or internal links. And there are other ways to do that in Canvas as well, so we can talk about that. Now, one thing I want to mention here is one bit of style that will still work off this sheet that was created for 2015 before are these terms for the types of buttons. So if you want a blue button instead of a black button, change the word primary or change the word secondary from primary. So refer to this, go back to your code, and if you check this out, we're just changing the word secondary to primary, hitting save, and it will change it to the new color blue. I know some of you want to do buttons in your class, so I thought this would be really great to include as a tutorial. So I can get that bit of code to you. I will figure out how to link that to you. And then the other thing is, if you want to change the padding here, go in and experiment at this granular level, as they call it, and change things like the padding. Okay, so if you see 30 in here, I think that stands for pixels. What happens if I change it to 20? If I change a few of these to 20? Again, it's really cool to experiment with this because you're not going to break anything. You're not going to start a nuclear war like in the movie War Games. There's no danger in this at all. And in that case, did it change the padding or relationship between the two? I guess it didn't between the three. So what I can do is continue to problem solve. Again, I'm not doing this as someone who does coding or anything like that. So kind of like you, I am just seeing what can I do to change things up. So what if I change the percentage from 25% to 15? And that actually looks like maybe what I want. I clicked on the padding, but this has the width. So let me see if that changes anything at all or not. It did. Okay, so that appears to work. So what I would do is just go in, and I didn't edit all of these, so there's a gap here. I would go in and continue to edit that until it gets to the distance from one another that I like. So just change that maybe to 5% or 2% and hit save. Trial and error. You're not going to mess anything up, and see if that works. So I think the buttons in particular might be good for you if you want to have buttons displayed in your class, because that's not currently something that we can do just using the rich content editor. So I'll stop there today, but it's just an introduction to some of the possibilities. Another thing you can do, since now these are not being currently updated since 2015, is just go to the web, type in Google something like Canvas HTML buttons, or Canvas HTML tags, or whatever, or color codes. Those kind of come up. And then you can see if there are some elements in here that you can use in your own class. And there's even an HTML Canvas 5 tutorial for beginners. So definitely encourage you to check out the web and all the information there, because there's some really good stuff to discover about using HTML inside of Canvas. All right, that's going to be it today here, focusing on using the HTML editor inside of Canvas. I think it's pretty easy to use. Again, as I emphasized in the video, there's really nothing to be afraid of in terms of doing a little bit of HTML coding inside of your Canvas class. So thanks for listening. I'll be back with more videos in this series shortly.